What's good, y'all? And welcome to the final preseason preview of the 2025 offseason. Of course, in this one, we're going over the NBA champion OKC Thunder. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I do try to match up my shirt based on what team I'm talking about. It's not an OKC shirt, but Russell Westbrook's not on a team right now, and we all know that he is the OKC Thunder. So shout out Russ. Shout out the Thunder. I figured I'd wear it. But in case this is your first preseason preview video of mine that you're seeing, basically what I do is go over the offseason, give a little recap there, and then try to look into the future and see what we can expect in this upcoming season. Like I mentioned though, the Thunder are the last team I'm going over. I saved the best for last. I did videos on all 30 NBA teams, so make sure you check out my channel for all the other videos and all the other teams. And then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all of the good content that I'm going to be putting out throughout the season. You guys do not want to miss it. But let's just jump right into it and talk about the OKC Thunder because they are coming off of a super successful season. Obviously, they are the NBA champions, but it goes even beyond that. They were the first seed in the Western Conference going 68-14, but they were the first seed by a super wide margin. Double-digit wins separated them from the second seed out west, and that's saying something considering how good the West was last year. They were by far the best team by record, by far the best team by net rating, one of the best defenses we have ever seen. They were incredibly dominant, and I'm not saying that lightly. And then, of course, they went on to the playoffs, had an incredible playoff run. A few Game 7s there that made things a little bit questionable, but they pulled through and now are NBA champions. The craziest part about it all, honestly, is the fact that they are so young and they accomplished this goal. And then now that they reached their peak, they still were able to bring back their entire core and then just run it back the year after. Like, they were such a dominant team. Now, not much has changed. They should be able to just do it again. They did still make some offseason moves, though, of course, so let's just jump into those before we get too ahead of ourselves. Before we talk about the guys that they're bringing into OKC, I do want to highlight the losses, and honestly, like I was just saying, it's not much. They were able to keep their entire rotation on the roster. The only guy that they did really lose this offseason was Dillon Jones. They traded Dillon away with a 2029 second-round pick to the Washington Wizards in exchange for Colby Jones, and then the Thunder went on to waive Colby Jones. This move was pretty much made by the Thunder just to get a little bit more flexibility on their roster, to open up a roster spot, because we will get to it in a second, but they did have some draft picks this year, so in order to bring in these rookies, they needed some space on the roster, so unfortunately Dillon Jones was a casualty to that. He had a pretty solid year with the Thunder, just being extra wing depth for them off their bench. He played a little bit in the playoffs and just all around was a little bit of a presence in the paint. Not much really to say more beyond that for Dillon, though. No disrespect to him, but when you look at this roster that they have right now, it's not a big loss that he won't be here, so shout out to Dillon. Wish you the best. But let's get into the more interesting things, though, and that is, of course, the additions that the Thunder are making this year. And I want to start by talking about this weird situation on how they're getting this addition, because it's not technically an addition, but it kind of is. I'm talking about Nikola Topic. They drafted him last year, 12th overall in the draft lottery. He ended up tearing his ACL, missing the entire season last year. So Nikola Topic is an NBA champion while being a rookie, which is weird. Again, not really ever happened before. Regardless, though, Nikola Topic should be able to make his NBA debut this season. It won't be right away because he did get hurt again, or I don't know if it's technically a hurt, but he had a procedure done on his lower region. I'll leave it at that. He should be healthy in about 4 to 6 weeks, so a little bit into the season, we'll see him finally be added to this roster. When he does get on the court, though, I do think that Nikola Topic could help this roster, which is saying something considering they're coming off of such a dominant championship season last year. But I really like what Nikola Topic could bring to them. He's a pretty big guard, being in that 6'5", 6'6" range, so I like that size aspect of him. An incredible passer. That is the number one skill set he has. He is a playmaker at heart, is always going to have his eyes open, looking, scanning the court, finding the open man. He is incredibly good at doing that and making it in a variety of passes, whether it's just, on the fast break, coming off the pick and roll, a skip pass when the defense is just loading up. He is a really terrific passer. He's also really good at getting downhill and getting to the rim, whether that's for him to finish at the rim himself or then kick it out and just get an open look for someone else. Regardless, his offensive skill set, I think, really will help this Thunder team once he finally gets onto the court for them. That's not the only rookie the Thunder are adding to their roster, though. They also drafted a rookie this year with the 15th overall pick. Of course, I'm talking about Thomas Sorber. Unfortunately, though, he's going through a eerily similar situation to what Nikola Topic did last year. Thomas Sorber also tore his ACL in this offseason after getting drafted, and he will be missing this entire season. So we won't be seeing him anytime soon, but I still do like the idea of him being on this Thunder team. He's 6'10" with an incredibly long 6'5" wingspan, super lanky center, got soft touch at the rim. He shows signs of being a very good rim protector as well. Solid passer from the high post, and that's something that this Thunder team likes to do out of their bigs. So I really do think that when he's healthy and finally on the court, he can be really good for this Thunder team. But like I said, unfortunately, it will be a while before we see that. And those are the only real notable guys that the Thunder are adding to their roster this offseason. But they still did make some moves, including re-signing their own free agents. So I do want to just highlight that real quick. They re-signed Jalen Williams, the center, J. Will, to a new 3-year, $24 million contract. So he'll be making on average about $8 million a year. I really like this contract for J. Will, just because I feel like he is a really underrated big in this NBA. Because the Thunder have Chet and they have Hartenstein, he really doesn't get too much playing time. But when he's on the court, he is really productive. He's able to stretch the floor. He is a super underrated rebounder, in my opinion. Very solid passer, especially for a big. And I really just think all around offensively, he is one of the more complete bigs in the NBA. And I do know he's also a fan favorite, a big locker room presence. So I'm sure that kind of added to the fact that the Thunder and him wanting to get this deal done. The fact that it's only $8 million a year, though, I really feel like that's an incredible bargain for J. Will. They also restructured A.J. Mitchell's contract coming off of a pretty impressive rookie season, albeit a little bit hindered by injury. When he was on the court, though, he looked really good. His new contract is a 3-year, $9 million contract, so the Thunder got him on a bargain as well, only about $3 million a year. And I was really impressed by A.J. Mitchell because he showed a lot of confidence just as a rookie that I was not expecting from him. As a all-around scorer, a shooter, getting to the rim and creating his own shot. I really do like him, and the fact that the Thunder got him on a 3-year, $3 million a year deal, again, incredible bargain. And this seems like a theme for the Thunder, getting their own players to sign back on really team-friendly deals. Because, of course, this offseason, like I just mentioned, they did it with J. Will, they did it with A.J. Mitchell. Then last offseason, they did similar things with Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. Just all around incredible from their front office being this ahead of the ball. The Thunder just continue to be the best ran organization. And now that we recap the offseason, let's take a look at a potential rotation we could be seeing from the Thunder this year. In the starting lineup, we have reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein. Then off their bench, we have Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, and Jalen Williams. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I was really impressed that the Thunder were able to win the championship and still keep basically their whole, not even basically, they were able to keep their entire rotation going into this next year. And that is just really difficult, I feel like, to do year in and year out. The first example that comes to mind, once the Nuggets won their championship, their bench just completely got depleted. The Warriors can be another example of this. Their most recent championship, after that, they got some of their bench guys signing other contracts. And it makes sense once a role player shows that they can contribute to championship level winning. Obviously, other teams want to add that player, and sometimes it presses out their own team. Since this team is so young, though, they don't really have to worry about that. A lot of these guys are either on rookie contracts still or have re-signed to extremely team-friendly deals. So like this team, like I mentioned, they just are incredibly well ran. They did make one really big change to their rotation, though, from this year and last year, and that is Chet Holmgren. I know you might be thinking, yo, Chet was definitely on the roster last year. What are you talking about? Chet only played 32 games last year. He played, I think it was like 10 games, and then broke something in his pelvis, was out for basically the rest of the regular season. He played a little bit towards the end of the year, and then, of course, into the playoffs. But this Thunder team were able to win 60-plus games, almost 70 games, without one of their best players, without one of their top defenders, without a all-defensive team member. Like, that's really, really impressive. And of course, we never know what's going to happen once we get into the year, and hopefully everyone stays healthy. But as of right now, Chet Holmgren, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, their entire starting lineup is fully healthy. Majority of their bench is fully healthy. So I don't know. Like, I feel like the sky is damn near the limit for this team. I mentioned that last year they were one of the best defenses we have ever seen. And I'm not just saying that just statistically by defensive rating and all of these other metrics. They were one of the best defensive teams we have ever seen. And now to think they are adding a defender at the level of Chet to this as a rim protector, as a guy that is quick enough to be switchable and use his length on the perimeter. It blows my mind because it's not just like one guy that makes this defense so incredible. It's the fact that they have elite defenders throughout their entire roster. I've mentioned Chet now, but Isaiah Hartenstein, and in that double big lineup, or even when those guys are playing individually, both of them are incredibly good rim protectors. Both of them can guard pick and rolls. Both of them are pretty versatile to switch out for certain possessions. But then perimeter-wise, it doesn't stop because they have Lou Dort, they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they have Jalen Williams, they have Alex Caruso, they have Cason Wallace. Like, I can literally go on and on and on about the elite defenders this team has. And I mean, I don't really have to explain it because we just saw the blueprint work last season. But when you have such an elite defense, and then you're led by one of the best players in the NBA, probably the best scorer in the NBA right now, he'll take care of the offense. You have J-Dub to handle a little bit of the secondary stuff. Everyone else fits in where they fit, and then you just rock, and they're amazing because of that. I don't know, I feel like there should be more analysis here, but I feel like when you're talking about the best team in the NBA, it's hard to really bring up stuff that people don't already know, if that makes sense. Like, we all know they are elite defensively, and they will still be elite defensively. We all know how great Shai is coming off his MVP season. We all know how deep this roster is and how loaded they are at all positions. Like, I don't know what else to really say besides just straight up glazing them. Before we move on, I do want to highlight some of the notable reserves, though, on this roster because they still are super talented and have plenty of guys that probably could play for them and will play for them, but I didn't include in this rotation. Two of them I already mentioned, and that is Nikola Topic and AJ Mitchell. Both of these guys at guard, I feel like, are super talented and definitely bring a lot of value to this team. But as you guys just saw, like, they already are running 3 guards off their bench. Aaron Wiggins, I would say, is probably a wing, but you could maybe even classify him as like a 2 guard. And then in that case, they would have 4 guards off their bench. I'm sure both of those guys will get some play time and find their way onto the court. It's just hard to staple them into the rotation when you consider all of the other guards that are on this roster. And then the last guy I want to mention is Kenny Hustle, Kenrich Williams, the vet of this team, which is funny to say because he's not even like incredibly old like that. But Kenny Hustle was a pretty important piece to the Thunder team last year, being just a super energized wing, even sometimes played like some small ball 5, which is, again, kind of crazy to think about, but it worked. It just kind of does whatever the team needs. Kenny Hustle is his name for a reason. He'll be diving for loose balls, scrapping for rebounds, just, again, doing whatever it takes. He will definitely get some playtime for sure. But now it's time to go over my ceiling, floor, and expectation for the OKC Thunder. Starting off at their ceiling, I mean, this kind of makes sense. Their ceiling is the #1 seed, best team in the NBA, and NBA champions again. We just saw it happen last year. They have the same roster. I know everyone else around them, the teams have changed and all of that, but if you asked 100 NBA fans, I would say, what the ceiling of the Thunder team is, I would say 99% of them would say champions. That's definitely their ceiling. When you look at their floor, I can see them being as low as the 3rd seed. I still am really, really high on this Thunder team, rightfully so. I do think that they are a lock to be a top 3 team in a really top-heavy Western Conference. Like I mentioned, though, there are other teams around them that have gotten better. So, like a team like the Nuggets, I could see jumping them. Maybe the Rockets or the Clippers or whatever it is. I could definitely see other teams leaping them. On top of that, though, there could be a little bit of championship fatigue, where like they know they won it and now like some of that motivation, that hunger is gone. I don't know for sure, considering this team is so young, if that will be really affecting them, but it still is something there. So at their floor, I could see them being the 3 seed, and then when it comes to playoffs, I definitely think, obviously, they would win their first round matchup. That second round, though, depending on who they match up against, if they're the 3 seed, it'll probably be a pretty tough matchup for them. So I do think at their floor, they are second round exits. Then when you talk about my expectations, I do expect them to be the #1 seed and the best team out in the Western Conference. Probably the best team in the NBA too, but I'll for sure lock in the best team in the Western Conference. There's just nothing that could really tell me that they won't repeat as really successful regular season teams, considering their depth, their age, their defense that they can rely on. Like, I really do think that they are going to be a regular season powerhouse yet again. When it comes to the playoffs, I do think that they will also have a pretty deep playoff run. It's kind of tough for me to say that I expect a championship from any team in the NBA, so I don't want to put that expectation on this Thunder team, even though they probably are my favorites to win it. I do expect them to at least make the Western Conference Finals. It would be really nice for them to repeat and make the finals again. But I do know that that is incredibly difficult to do. So my expectations is at least Western Conference Finals, but they very much might be back in the finals come June. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Thunder. Where do you think they will be in the standings? And do you think they will repeat as champions? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys made it to this part of the video, I appreciate you so much. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is like the season finale of 2025 preseason previews, if you really want to call it that. This is my second season covering all 30 NBA teams in this series, and it, again, was super fun. You guys showed so much support, and I cannot appreciate it enough. Like, I really do appreciate you guys. It doesn't stop here, though. Obviously, I will be putting out plenty of content throughout the entire regular season, and then the playoffs, and then next offseason, and continuing. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch ya.